Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, weekly podcast for the haunted attraction and entertainment industry. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you this week a little bit late.
Yes, indeed.
We are actually recording this pretty much right before it goes up. We're going to get into why in just a minute. We got a little spiel on that planned and bookmarks. But we are coming to you from Monday. It goes live. We did not do a live recording this week for reasons we'll discuss in just a minute or two. But want to let you know that we're sorry the episode's going to be up a few hours later than normal. We'll get more details why in just a minute. But if you were feeling impatient while waiting for us, you could have listened to any of the other almost 300 episodes. You can find them at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly is our YouTube channel. That is the easiest way to listen. Every episode is there, and they're all just a click away, baby. You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. And most weeks, join us Sunday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, as we do this live at facebook.com/hauntweekly, and maybe soon other destinations as well. All right, well, as many of you know, we had a lengthy discussion about the conference reminders.
Yes.
And we decided to do them every other week, every even week, so every news week and every mid-cycle week. Mm-hmm. And so, guess what we're going to do next? Conference reminders. Crystal, why don't you take away?
Okay. First off, August 20th through the 22nd.
This coming weekend.
We have CreepyCon Halloween and Horror Convention in Knoxville, Tennessee at Jacobs Building. Featuring celebrity guests, contests, and more. Tickets start at just $25 for a one-day pass. CreepyConKnoxville.com for more info.
All right. Looking ahead to post-haunt season, November 12th through the 13th in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's the legendary Haunt Tour at the Metairie Marriott. They'll be touring the Mortuary, New Orleans Nightmare, 13th Gate, and Rise Haunted House. All haunts we are very, very familiar with and highly recommend seeing. Tickets are $365. Early bird pricing just ended, so the price went up. It ended actually the day before, a few days ago, on my birthday. So yes, that's at legendaryhaunttour.com if you want more info.
Okay, January 11th through the 13th, next year, Halloween and Party Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a giant trade show of Halloween and related products, mostly for bulk buyers, but some for haunters. HauntCon is postponed for 2022. These two are usually put together, but HauntCon is not going to have one this year. Yeah,
it doesn't. The message on the HauntCon site is the same, but the Party Expo is moving forward.
Yes.
Then, January 21st to the 23rd in Owensboro, Kentucky, it'll be Fear Expo Live at the Owensboro Convention Center. It'll feature a trade show, an overnight haunt tour, and a Friday after party. FearExpoLive.com for the details.
Okay, and February 26th through the 27th, it's HauntX DIY Haunters and Halloween Expo in Pomona, California at the Fairplex, Building 9. It will be featuring an asylum costume party on Saturday the 19th. HauntX.com for more info as available.
Oh, no, I should apologize. It's no longer Saturday the 19th. I think it's Saturday the 26th because they moved the dates. And I corrected the dates up top, but I forgot to mention that they moved 1 week back, basically.
Yeah.
My suspicion there is a scheduling conflict. They didn't say. I'm hypothesizing. Scheduling conflict. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Before we kick off into what is this week's topic, which actually is not going to be a lot about haunted houses for once, I did want to do some transparency.
Yeah.
Because we're a small podcast. We know a lot of our listeners personally. We count you as our friends. We count you as our family. And we don't want to hide things or sugarcoat things. Or, basically, we want to be as straightforward with you guys as possible. We did not do a live broadcast this week. We posted about it on Sunday. And the reason we said then, and it's a fair and accurate reason, there's nothing, no lies were told.
No.
There's a heat wave in New Orleans. We had been out for my birthday on Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of hours in the sun. And then we went out again on Saturday, out and about. And we got a little heat strokey from those 2 trips.
Yeah, it was... we needed lots of water out there.
And we basically decided we wouldn't feel comfortable spending another hour in that heat to do this podcast. It's actually closer to an hour and a half when you factor in setup and everything else. It just wasn't something it's even hotter in the garage right now than it is out of doors, even with that AC on.
Yeah.
So we just decided we could not do it. We're sorry, and we canceled on it. We are in the process, we're going to start the process soon, hopefully, of moving the studio elements indoors. We have to do it anyway. If we have any shot at opening the haunt this year, we've got to get that room back to where it can be a haunted house room and not a studio.
Right.
So we're going to start moving it in. I think we're going to do it in the room that we're actually recording this in, which was your home office.
Right.
And our / guest bedroom.
Yeah.
It'll be now guest bedroom / studio space / I'm guessing miniature painting space for you. It'll be a multi-purpose room. It's going to have a lot of things going on. But we're moving it in here, and yeah, that'll be great for us because we'll have climate control, and also we'll be able to put that room back as a haunted attraction room, where right now, basically, there ain't no one walking through that room unless they want to trip on tables, lights, and a million other things in the way.
Yeah.
Would not recommend passing through that room.
No.
So yes, we are starting that process. I don't know if we'll be done with it next week, but I hope we'll be done with it by episode 300. I would like 300 to be live if we can do it. But the other reason we didn't do a live recording is because, frankly, I think we're feeling a bit dejected and defeated about haunting.
Yeah.
We're having some difficulties there.
Mm-hmm.
It is looking like the 2021 season is not happening for us.
Right. And that's both putting on a haunted house or going to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like we're going to be able to do either again.
Yeah. And that was rough last year, not even being able to... Like, 2019, when we were closed because of the road, we had the solace of, oh, fine, we get to go do the haunted houses and not worry about building hours.
Exactly.
And that was kind of nice. And it was actually kind of a fun season for that reason. Yeah, I'm still sad we didn't get to haunt and scare the crap out of people.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed being able to make hit more haunts, do more things. So it's great. But yeah, these past 2 years, 2020, we didn't go to any haunts. None of the haunts locally, I felt, had taken enough adequate precautions to make me feel like going. And after seeing one local haunt that opened for Friday the 13th, actively flouting the mask mandate on their open Facebook, I just know it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk.
No.
Nobody should have to die for my entertainment. And it's a big thing for me, is when people die for my entertainment, even if it's indirectly, I get it and give it to someone who gives it to someone on down the line. That type of thing upsets me. That thought upsets me. So I don't want people dying from entertainment. Or even the risk of it. And so, yeah, we're looking like we're not going to haunts either. And honestly, a lot of that is we're just frustrated at our fellow human beings.
Yeah.
Because if this Delta variant wave, was a pandemic of vaccinated people, it wouldn't be a pandemic. You would have a tiny fraction of the people in the hospitals and getting very sick. There would be no hospital overcrowding. We just had a friend who had symptoms of a stroke.
Yeah.
And went to and tried to get appointments to go see a doctor and get it checked out. She couldn't do it because the places she goes aren't doing those non-emergency appointments.
Yeah.
And it's because of Delta variant. And so, yeah, I hope she's okay. I hope it's a big bundle of nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm really worried about her, and I'm upset that she can't, and the providers she's able to go to, that she can't get it checked out. Just it seems like this would be something easy to do, but it's not, and it's not because of COVID. And so we also had a really, really good weekend.
Yeah.
And this is being honest. I mean, you got a new promotion.
I did.
We can now mention it on air because The people that need to know have been informed.
Yes, yes.
We can now mention on here you got a major new promotion, big rise in status, pay, environment, office, closing door office, all kinds of awesomeness. I turned 41 on Friday. I know that's not much an accomplishment other than I traveled around the sun one more time, but that's awesome too.
Yeah.
And we had a great weekend hanging out with friends, doing some awesome things, just doing the stuff we wanted to do. And every time we thought about haunting, we got really depressed very quickly.
Yeah. So then we just didn't want to think about it.
Yeah. So that's just it. You know, it's like our mental health, as far as like most things in our life, doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We're feeling good about shit. We paid off all non-housing debts.
Yeah.
The mortgage is the only debt we really have anymore.
Exactly.
Jesus, it's coming up Millhouse in every other way.
Yeah.
And so that's just why whenever we think about haunting and it just crashes, it spikes the mood right through the floor, we didn't want to do it. And we sure as hell didn't want to do it live where we had to be on and our facial expressions could be read. It's rough.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. Our haunting mental health is terrible, even if the rest of our mental health is fine. So yeah, we're recording this late. It will go live late. Sorry about all that. But now you know, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. So just once again, I wanted to be transparent about it. And this is also why we haven't done nearly enough work on episode 300.
Yeah, exactly. Because
we're 2 away from it now, and we've talked to a few people. We've got people we think are going to come on and have a good time.
We've just got to actually schedule it.
Yeah.
Normally this would have been done by now, but
because we're both heavy planners for this type of stuff, but neither of us have wanted to tackle it because, like I said, things are very depressing for us right now in this sphere, and it feels like it's the lone downer in a life that is otherwise going really good.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I'm always the first person to say, if it doesn't bring you joy, why are you doing it? You know, the Marie Kondo crap. And you know what, though? There's something to that mentality.
There is.
There's something to be said about it. If it doesn't bring you joy, why the hell are you doing it? Especially when it's an avocation, like haunting. You know, why are you doing it? And so or this podcast even. So that's been the issue. Just wanted to, like I said, be transparent. So please send good vibes, send good energies. I don't know, just any good thoughts, anything, you know, any pick-me-ups you got. I'd love to see them. So, you know where to reach us. Haunt Weekly on Facebook, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, and youtube.com/Haunt Weekly. We have the comment section. We do read those, including all the people that post wackadoodle conspiracy theories, or the bots that post wackadoodle conspiracy theories about COVID. And every time we mention COVID at all.
Yes, if you do that and you're not a bot, or if you are a bot, it will be deleted.
Yeah, it will be deleted. You will get. It will not be up long enough for the next viewer to see it on YouTube. No. Sorry. So yeah. So one thing we decided to do is that instead of talking about haunting this week, like we said, bringing us down, we're actually going to answer the questions we've been getting.
Yeah.
Which is weird because we've been getting a lot of non-haunt questions, but a lot of podcast questions.
Yeah.
Basically, as we approach episode 300, we've been getting a lot of questions about how we podcast, the way our methodology, everything. Some have said that we inspired them to start their own podcast.
Yes.
Several people have said that.
Very flattering.
That is flattering as hell. Though I also, my head goes, well, maybe they think, well, if those 2 idiots can do 300 episodes of a podcast, I obviously can. You know what? If you're thinking that, you're not wrong.
Exactly.
You're very, very right. I'm not going to deny that or say that it's untrue.
Nope.
That is very on point.
It's a valid reason to do it.
And it's literally true. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we make the podcast, everything from how we got started and some of the rules we set down in the very beginning that have helped us. And then we're going to talk about some techie stuff, the tools we use, the equipment we use, software, services, etc. And wrap it up, we're going to answer some of the FAQs that we've been getting.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
So first things first, the origins. How did we start this crazy, crazy podcast? Well, you have to start with garbage horror, oddly enough.
Yeah.
To really kind of tell the story. You can still find it. It's on YouTube. We never took it down. They're still out there. The channel, up until last year, was even active on an annual basis as we did haunt reviews there.
Right.
Last year was the first year in quite some time we didn't do any reviews because we didn't go to any haunts. But it was an old weekly YouTube series that we did, and we had a lot of fun with it. We basically review garbage horror movies, low budget horror movies, the type of stuff that back when we were doing it would line like you get like 10 movies on a DVD
Exactly.
for $5 at Walgreens or some crap.
Yeah.
We actually watched those movies.
We did.
We watched a lot of those movies.
And we watched them multiple times for garbage
Yeah.
horror.
Yeah, and that was, and in fact, what you just hit on is kind of the problem, was doing this on a weekly basis left no time for us.
Yeah.
Because basically the schedule we maintained when we were doing weekly garbage horror videos, the full ones. Wednesday we would watch a video, one movie to 3, and try to find one we wanted to review. Just something we could talk about enough was the main thing. It didn't have to be good, it didn't have to be bad, it could even be mediocre and in the middle, but it had to be interesting in some way.
Right.
And ideally not a movie that a lot of other people had reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did do Birdemic at one point. That was still my favorite intro we ever did, was the Birdemic one. I still laugh my ass off when I see our intro to Birdemic, and I know it's kitsch to laugh at your own jokes, but that was fucking funny.
It was.
That was fucking funny. I stand by that. God. And I still have actually the bird I drew for that.
Yes.
It's in my office. I should frame it or something.
We should frame it and like auction it off or something.
So yeah, if you want to check out a garbage horror, that's the one I recommend, even though it's a movie everyone else has reviewed too.
Yeah, and that was after we had stopped doing all of the cast and stuff at the beginning. So it was a tighter show by then too.
But the thing was, Wednesday we would watch movies. Thursday we did a rewatch of the movie we were going to talk about. Mm-hmm. And we were taking notes and thinking what we wanted to say. That was the actually watching it intently one. Mm-hmm. And then we'd often bounce ideas around on Thursday for what we were going to do. And by the way, this is all while both of us are maintaining 40-hour-a-week jobs. Yeah. So this is all evening stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This is all evening. And then Friday, we would write the intro and outros, the bits. Mm-hmm. We would decide, or we at least decide what they're going to be. And if there was something we could shoot in our house or on our property at night or evening, we would go ahead and do that shot. Right. Just to get it out of the way. But more often than not, something required broad daylight. It needed to be outside. So the shooting actually took place Saturday. Right. And that included the review portion and the intro and the outro bits. Sunday was entirely editing. And sometimes it's Saturday night too. Was editing. So all day Sunday, I'm editing. I was usually the one doing the editing. Mm-hmm. And then publish it early on Monday morning. And so we had Monday and Tuesday where we didn't have to think about it other than YouTube-y bullcrap. And then Wednesday back to the fire. And that was just rough. We got burned out. We couldn't maintain the pace. And we also ran into a bunch of problems with YouTube. We were doing this right as their copyright claim system was beginning to take off. Yeah. And we got couple copyright strikes that were definitely unearned. Yeah. In fact, one of them was so stupid because we were accused of stealing content from Beekman's World in a video that had no content from Beekman's World.
Right, and which they had contacted us about, actually. Yeah. And said that they loved what we had done.
Yeah, and literally the people behind it sent us a very glowing email saying, oh, thank you, too, for sharing your... Because we were discussing Beekman's World, but this was toward the end. We were doing these every other week. We call them Out of the Cans. Yeah. Where we would just sit there and reminisce. It was just us chatting. It was more like the format of this podcast. Right. Just chatting. And yeah, we did an Out of the Can by Beacon's World. The only thing we used was a press still, literally from their press page, as the thumbnail with the Garbage Horror logo on it. And that was the only thing they owned. Yeah. And that we used, and it was specifically for that. And we also got permission to use a Voltaire song in one. Yeah. Got permission, used it, still got the video monetized by the record label.
Well, yeah, and the with his own videos that he uploaded also got cut at that same time. So it wasn't just us. I mean, the actual artist.
So he actually was kind enough to give us permission. He gave blanket permission, actually, is what he said. But he was giving blanket permission at the time. And so we jumped on that because it was used in the movie 100 Tears. Mm-hmm. And we had a funny idea, what we thought was a funny idea at the time. And actually, it was kind of shit. But that one, less good. Stick to the Birdemic one. Just, But yeah, we lost all monetization of it. And stuff like that would run rampant, even when we'd only use stills or use 5-second clips without sound. So we ran into that issue too.
Right.
But anyways, and all the other project that is relevant is prior to Haunt Weekly, I did a podcast called the Copyright 2.0 Show for my day job. That lasted almost 300 episodes. I think it made it like 278, I'm wanting to say.
So we're further.
We're further, yes. We have definitely surpassed what the Copyright 2.0 Show did. Much easier with a host you live with.
Yes.
And have the same schedule as largely.
Yeah.
Because that's what ended up tanking Copyright 2.0. It was not that I didn't want to keep doing it. It was a good show and it was fun. It was educational, informative, but you need a co-host for that type of format. And I just couldn't get anyone reliable enough.
Well, and I think that having a co-host with you is often better than just sitting there talking by yourself.
Yeah. For long format content, it definitely is. Long format content. If you're going to be over 30 minutes, you definitely want to look at getting a co-host because it is a lot to listen to one person talk for that long in a non-interactive environment.
It is.
It just is. And so, like, my friend Chris Matthews actually founded the podcast. He had me on first as a guest host. And then we had a good dynamic. So we hosted it together for a while. And then he wanted to get away from it. So it's here, just take all the IP, take the domain, take everything. Threw it at me. And he went on to do a lot of wildly successful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He's very, very successful. He didn't need that goddamn podcast. I teamed up with my friend Patrick O'Keefe. We did it for a few hundred episodes. And yeah.
And he's been back on Haunt Weekly.
Yeah, Patrick O'Keefe has been on Haunt Weekly. Chris Matthews is not. Maybe I should see if he wants to do Haunt Weekly and talk about tech and haunted houses. Internet of Things. That could be interesting.
That could be.
Because that's his area of expertise is the Internet of Things, IoT. Yeah, IoT and haunting could be a great topic.
Yeah.
And the guy holds like 16 patents now. Bastard showing me up and being successful.
No.
We love Chris. He's a great guy. But anyways, so I had a weekly podcast before this.
Yes.
Is where I was going with. That's the important thing. To make a long story short.
Too late.
Anyways, so here's the other thing about Haunt Weekly is that we had the Haunt Weekly domain for a long time.
Yes.
We bought it years ago, years before we ever started a podcast. And the original vision was you were going to do a weekly craft series.
Yeah.
Now, this idea never really even got pre-production phase.
Well, I tried to shoot one video about how to make a cheap dummy, like a cheap body for your haunt. And then I found, like, basically right after I made it, I found so much easier way to make them. It was like, well, that's a trash idea now, you know?
Yeah, and we actually wrote a list of projects we were going to feature. And it's going to be everything from, like, lighting to distressing a wall to ways to make PVC look like iron.
Yeah, lots of the things that we talk about on here.
And we talk about them on here a lot of the time.
Of it, yeah.
And it would have been cool, but it was just going to be too much work. And as you noted, that's a very crowded space, and frankly, there's much smarter people than us in that space.
It is, and the other thing is that, you know, if it were just while the build is going on, I just, like, stick up a camera and show you what I'm doing and what techniques I'm using, then that would have worked better than trying to schedule it out of season and for random stuff that didn't have to do with the haunt that year. Yeah,
exactly. So we decided, since the video series wasn't going to happen, to turn it into a podcast and see what happened. However, because the realization was pretty straightforward. It was that, hey, we're having these hour-long conversations about haunting regularly.
Yeah.
They're coming up just organically in our day-to-day life. Why don't we just put a microphone in the room and see what happens?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly how Haunt Weekly started. But we did want to learn our lessons from those previous projects. And so we made a series of rules. The first was to minimize the workload. This had to take a combined 10 hours or less each week, was my general rule.
Yeah.
And we stay well underneath that. Even counting 2 hours of us here, because me 1 hour, you 1 hour.
Right.
Show notes typically take a couple hours to compile. Editing and getting it up takes a couple hours. So we're probably underneath 6 to 7 hours a week, realistically.
Right.
We're well underneath it. But We promised ourselves we would not have a video component.
Right.
That changed with the
did.
pandemic. But even then, it was not the same kind of stressful video component that we had dealt with in the past.
Right. And part of, the way we're keeping our time down is that we don't go back and edit these.
No.
We don't try to, there's minimal editing. Like, you level everything out, but there's not, there was a noise here, let me cut audio and stitch it back together. And
yeah, we don't do like a lot of video bloggers and remove every breath, every pause to breathe. This is an organic conversation. This is as real as it gets.
Yeah.
This is just two people, most weeks, two people having a conversation about haunted attraction stuff. Yeah. That's really all it is. And that's what we want it to be. And there are a lot of very entertaining and popular podcasts that use that formula.
Right.
There's also a lot that do a lot of spit and polish.
Right.
It's a style choice, but doing it stylistically this way made it so that we could do it for 300 episodes. There's no way in hell we would have made it 300.
Oh, no.
If we had upped the editing.
No.
And we also wanted to focus on trying to share the workload the best we could. And also, one thing we did was we wrote a lot of topic ideas out beforehand.
Yeah, and this is actually a tip that I got from your friend at a conference, Liz Strauss. The late, the great.
Yes, indeed.
But she said if you really want to know if you have enough to cover, write down all the ideas you can think of off the top of your head in 10 minutes and see how long the list is. And if you think it's long enough to have enough content, then you can grow it from there.
Yeah.
And
that's basically what we did.
It is.
That's pretty much exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And then when the time came, we literally just started. You go back to the first episode of Haunt Weekly. It's like 15 minutes long. And it's just us introducing ourselves, talking about what the podcast we want it to be. And then episode 2 was like the first real episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just it. We just started. Okay. So now we're going to get into some of the technical stuff. And this is what everyone seems to want to know. We're going to talk about hardware and software that we use.
Yep.
So this is the How We podcast. So we're going to start with recording equipment. When we first began, in fact, this podcast is being recorded this way too, because we don't have the studio set up in here yet.
Right.
So we're actually start doing it old school for us. When we first began, we had all free equipment that was free to us.
Yeah.
The main thing we used to record is an H4n, Zoom H4n recorder. And it's what we're recording this on right now. Basically, we got ours free. Our friend, who is a filmmaker, had one, and the SD card got stuck in it.
Right.
And it is really fucking stuck.
Oh, yeah. You're not getting it out.
We both have tried with pliers and tweezers and anything we can get our hands on and try to pry that some bitch out there. It ain't coming. Now, the good news is the SD card works.
Right.
It has survived. It's taken quite a beating, too, for being honest with each other. And the USB port, even though it takes one of those weird, stupid, fat USB plugs that nobody ever has.
Yeah.
It works, too. So that's how we get the audio off of it. Is we just don't take the SD card out. We just plug it in. But yeah, we used that exclusively until very, very recently. In fact, when we first set up the studio that we record live in, we had that, and we hooked the external microphones into the microphone ports, which is great that it can do that. It's very handy, but it's not a great way to record a podcast because it's very difficult to level external mics using the H4n.
Right.
Yeah, but it was very nice that it had it, and we still, if we ever go to a conference and are going to do recorded interviews, you'll see us shoving the H4n in people's face.
Yeah.
We'll be there shoving the H4. We used to call it Don King because we had a windscreen on it that looked like Don King's hair, big poofy troll gray hair. I don't know where that windscreen went.
No.
So, when we stopped using it, most weeks it got put into storage, and somewhere in that time it lost it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. But anyways, it's very useful for on-the-go podcasting. Absolutely very happy with the Zoom H4n. And we were so happy with the Zoom brand that when we needed to up the recording side of things, especially as we were in the studio, we went with the P4, the PodTrak, the PodTrak, because we're going to spell track like it's cool.
Yeah.
Podcast recorders. What we do for most episodes now, there were 3 major benefits for it. One was it made it really easy to record and capture guests.
Mm-hmm.
It's super easy to do that because you can record the output computer to it and it'll record it both as a mix down and as individual tracks. So if there's like some kind of weirdness on their audio,
Right.
you can filter it out. You can do things with it if you need to. Like I said, we try to avoid that kind of editing, but it's nice to have the ability. Second is that it makes it so that we can use the live mics, the actual external mics, on the live stream because it actually does a combination and the output of the audio.
Right.
And it outputs it back into my computer, which goes out over the internet. And the final thing is, unlike the H4n, I can change the gain, I can change the volume on every line independently on the fly.
Exactly.
Those are 3 major benefits for us. It was $200, and I think in terms of podcasting equipment, it was literally the best $200 we ever spent.
Well, yeah, because now you can make it sound like I'm almost as loud as you.
I can. It doesn't work miracles, sweetheart.
I said almost.
It's very good, but it's not a fucking genie.
Yeah.
But the point is, we love the pod track for it. It's great, and yeah, highly recommend that. Especially if you're going to do a live streaming component.
Yeah.
That's an easy recommend. Our microphones are cheap Neewer microphones.
Right.
These are we found on Amazon. Checked to make sure they were adequate, and that was it. We have a relatively quiet space outside. There's not much noise, even with the AC running. There's not much noise. We didn't really need to focus too heavy on the quality of the microphones. And my thing about this is, like I said, this is an avocation. We don't make money from this. We lose money from this. We spend money to do this. So the problem is getting an adequate microphone costs you like $20, $20 to $40 a microphone. You're just getting a condenser mic, basic condenser mic. If you want a good microphone, you got to tack a 0 onto that.
Right, exactly.
And if you want an expert level, a high-end microphone, you got to tack on another goddamn 0. Yeah. Microphone pricing is logarithmic, and it sucks.
Yeah, we're not into that.
I would absolutely, if we were doing a highly edited, polished podcast,
right,
I would absolutely be looking in that $200 to $300 range.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually own a couple of blue microphones for the Copyright 2.0 show that were in that range. Well, no, the blue Snowball was only $100 when I bought it.
Yeah.
But I own another that was in that $200 to $300 range.
Yeah, we bought some for Garbage Horror whenever we were in there.
Yeah, we did. We bought some better mics. But for this, especially since those mics are staying outside, they're not getting the TLC they need and deserve. That a 300, I would absolutely feel the need to do for a $200 to $300 microphone. It just wasn't worth it. It gives us adequate sound. It does well enough. It's fine. Yeah. So don't go. My advice to any new podcasters, especially in the beginning, don't go nuts on your microphones.
Yeah, because I mean, you may find that you absolutely hate it.
Yeah. You may realize that. And if that's the case, it's better to have lost, a sub $50, amount of money than it is to have lost hundreds.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is not a commercial endeavor though. So yeah.
No.
And the microphone stands and everything, it's just basic crap we found on Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't even know the brands. I don't think it matters.
No.
Literally, we just buy the, we don't buy the absolute cheapest mic stands, but we buy mid-tier mic stands and things like that. Because you want something that's heavy enough to stand up, but you also, once again, we're not, because it's kind of a logarithmic thing again, we're a really good mic stand can cost you 10x what an okay one does.
Yeah, and the same with the cords, the connectors.
Oh yeah, the XLR cords, XLR cables,
Yeah, because we had bought the cheapest and tried it, but there was so much noise from it. Yeah,
so get the next tier up, which is still less than like $20 to $30 per cable.
Yeah.
You're not spending a crazy amount, but once again, you want the gold-tipped, lined XLR cables and all that. Yeah. So it's so easy, especially when you're starting a podcast, to crazily overspend just because of that logarithmic jump from okay to good to hyper-professional.
Yeah.
Every one of those is a logarithmic jump in price. So we focused on making it sound acceptable because, like I said, this is not a heavily edited or polished podcast.
No.
So we're not going to get the benefit of that extra quality.
Right, exactly.
So broadcasting equipment.
Yeah.
Lighting. I can't tell you the name of a single piece of lighting equipment we own. We own this bizarre hodgepodge of on-sale ring lights and tripods.
We've got a tiny ring light,
Got
and
a big
giant ring light.
we set the TV that's in that room to blankwhitescreen.com, an amazing site. It just whites out your entire screen.
Yeah. Well, we can't figure out how to get the computer to leave the screen on.
Yeah, but it is there, and we do use it.
Yes.
So I can't. If you're wanting advice on lighting, I'll give you the same advice that James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, gave in one of his videos. You just keep fucking around with things until you find what looks good.
Yeah, what you like.
Because he uses like cheap hardware lights with wax paper as a diffuser, and it works great. It produces a nice soft light. I mean, don't go crazy trying to buy lights. Just fuck around, figure out what looks good. It'd probably be better than.
Yeah, because we did buy the giant soft boxes at one point.
Yeah, for garbage horror.
Yeah, and they're a pain.
And those soft boxes in particular were horrible because the bulbs were the halogen style, not LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
And the bulbs were super fragile.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, you breathe on them wrong, the bulb shatters. And for some reason, those boxes will not take LED bulbs.
Yeah,
so they're junked. I don't know. It took these. We have the weird special connectors in there. They do not. I don't know what the fuck that's about. So yeah, don't do that. Don't make those mistakes. To actually make the live stream go live, we use a service called Lightstream, or it's golightstream.com is the site. It's $25 a month for the tier we're on. That's basic. I think we're going to knock it down to $20 actually, because I think they've just offered a new $20 plan that meets our needs perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So we can save $5 a month. Basically, it would lower our frames per second from 60 seconds to 30. But we're a podcast, not video gamers. What the fuck do we care about FPS? So yeah, $25 per month. We do love it, basically. And then the really cool feature of it for us is it makes it super easy to have guests.
Yeah.
You just send a guest a link, they click on it, they give permission for their mic and their video. They're in the room. You can have up to 7 guests at a time. Yeah,
and if you watch some of the first live interviews we did, they were terrible because we weren't using the setup.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get set up.
And we were trying to use like OBS or other on computer stuff.
Uh-huh.
And that was back when I had the old MacBook. We're getting into that too in a second. But that MacBook just could not handle it.
No.
The poor bastard. It just couldn't do it. And so it's trying to pump out the video, and it failed so epically. I think the M1 I have now probably could. But right. I'm so confident I like Lightstream so much I haven't even thought to try it.
Right, and the other thing with Lightstream is that we get the graphics.
Yes, all the pretty images. And we're framed neatly, and I can do a lot more than I do. I'm kind of using a steam shovel to build a sandcastle with it. You can do a hell of a lot more than what we do with it, but it fits our needs perfectly. And also, I love that it eliminates the connection issues. If our Wi-Fi goes hiccup, instead of the stream going and dying, Lightstream keeps it going, and basically there might be like a glitch or a blip on the outgoing side, but we're still there.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. Speaking of, and the computer is the current model of MacBook Air, the M1 MacBook Air. Absolutely love that computer.
Yeah.
It is worth every penny and then some. And the reason I got it was because the MacBook I was using, MacBook Pro, I tried to upgrade it to whatever the latest OS was at that time. I think this was last year this happened.
Yeah, it was Big Sur.
It was Big Sur. And it said, oh, we can't upgrade you to Big Sur. Your hard drive is failing.
Yeah.
And so we looked at it, and sure enough, the smart thing on the hard drive was pegging as a failing drive. Now, I didn't care about my data. My data exists in the cloud anyways, realistically, and I have 2 backups of everything. But I couldn't upgrade, and that meant the computer wasn't long for the world, so I broke my rules of never buying a first-gen Apple product and never buying anything on launch day.
Yeah.
And plopped down $1,000 for this MacBook Air that I'm currently holding in my hands as I read the show notes. And dear God, I'm so grateful that I did.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful computer. And we use Facebook Live as the streaming platform right now. We may add others out there,
Right.
but we just took a look at where the haunters are.
Yeah. And most of you guys are on Facebook.
Yeah, haunted attractions and haunters seem to congregate on Facebook more than Twitter, more than Twitch, and more than YouTube. Like, our YouTube videos get abysmal views. Yeah, if you go to a video, even one that we post recently, you may have a chance of doubling the view count.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think that that there are haunters who are venturing into TikTok now. But
Yeah.
but that doesn't really fit with our format. So.
Yeah. So we do Facebook Live as our primary one. We may add others, but that's something that I have to find time to do some experimentation with.
Yeah.
Editing equipment. Once again, the M1 MacBook Air is the primary computer for editing. Use a USB-C hub, connect the SD card to it, bingo, bango, bongo. Because we're able to get the SD card out of the P4.
Yes.
Can't do it in the H4n, which is what we're stalking into right now, so I get to go in and use the weird USB cable. But anyways, so yeah. But I do the editing that. And the audio app I use for the stuff that I do, which is very limited now, is Audacity. Like, the first 250 episodes or so were all just edited, compiled, and exported in Audacity. And it's open source, freeware. If you know anything about podcasting and audio editing, you've almost certainly heard of it. It's great. Right now, the only thing I do in Audacity regularly is do trimming and sort of sanity checking the audio.
Right.
Because I forgot to use another service called Alphonic, that's AUPHONIC, Alphonic, that handles actual editing and publishing. Basically what it does is I provide it the raw WAV file. It adds the intro on. It corrects the audio, and it does a much better job correcting the audio than I've ever been able to do. Does an amazing job correcting the audio. And then it handles the publishing of it. It'll publish it with show notes and everything to YouTube and hand me the mix down to put on our podcast host, which we'll get into in just a second. It's basically cut the editing time in half, and most of my editing, quote-unquote editing time, is actually uploading time as I put the file into my Google Drive so Alphonic can get to it.
Right. And Alphonic is $11 a month. Yeah,
and it's $11 a month for the plan we use. And it gives us, they're kind of weird because they have like a free plan that gives you up to 2 hours per month or something like that. But that's too low.
Yeah.
And then the first tier, I think what we're on, the $11 a month plan, gives you 9. Like, well, that's literally double what we need.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so I'm happy though. I do love it. It also does the transcriptions. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
And we do automated transcriptions of every show. They're not perfect, but the reason we have them there is so that if you want to find a topic we discussed in the middle of a podcast, since we're minimizing our editing, we don't do chapter markers, you can get the timestamp from the transcription.
Yeah.
Just Control F, look for the word, boom, take it to the exact second it's at. It's a really, really cool setup. I recommend it highly.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to go just to one part of like a news week or something, that could be really useful.
Yeah.
As far as hosting goes, we use Fireside.fm. This is the only product or service we're going to talk about on this podcast I'm not full-throatedly endorsing.
Right.
I'm likely leaving it. It's $19 a month. It is steep for what it does, and it routinely has issues whenever I'm trying to upload the MP3s. Because you got to remember, I'm giving it the fully edited MP3.
Right.
And they do some kind of post-processing on their end, and that's fine, whatever the fuck, do it. But the server will crash, and it causes so many problems. And I think in the last 5 weeks of editing Haunt Weekly, it has fucked it up at least 3 times. And since we're getting such a late jump on this one, I'm scared to death it's going to screw up this week and cause us to miss Monday. I'm legitimately scared of that.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. I usually start the process of editing and getting everything up around a little bit at like 1 o'clock on Mondays, and usually it gets done by like 3 or 4. But like I said, with these Fireside.fm problems, we've been having a problem. I'm looking to switch to Anchor.fm. It's a free service. It's created by Spotify. And basically, the benefit of Fireside.fm is that it gives us both the podcast hosting and a full website. But I'm tempted to create just a drop page, like a one-page website for Haunt Weekly.
Yeah.
And have the core information there and just embed the anchor stuff.
Yeah, and we did play around with Podbean too first.
At the very beginning. It just wasn't for us on the website side.
Yeah.
It did fine with the audio and everything and the podcast hosting bit, but the website controls were. I'm a patient man. I've used WordPress since it's pretty much been a thing.
Yeah.
For at least,
and you were HTML before that.
Yeah. I've built websites in raw HTML. Yeah. Back in the old days. But I mean, I'm a patient man. That service ended my patience. It exceeded it.
Mm-hmm.
We also do use Google Drive for some long-term storage and organization too. So that's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Some miscellaneous things. We use the chat app Signal for keeping track of various things, both our Haunt Weekly ideas and our Haunt links, which is where we store news links, are in Signal. And the reason we use Signal and not iMessage, most things we do for just like communication through iMessage, is because Signal lets me have multiple rooms with the same people. I can create a room with Crystal. We entitled this one Haunt Links. We entitled this one, Haunt Weekly Ideas. We entitled this one Bernie Baxter Ideas and Thoughts. Mm-hmm. We have different things. And like sometime like around Christmas time or any gift season, we'll sometimes create like a temporary one, like gift ideas, going back and forth on that. And it's just two different people, but it's like Slack in that we're organizing what we're thinking about by having different chats. Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah, I'm actually putting in the Chris talk into Haunt Weekly Ideas.
Yeah, that's a good idea. See? And we also use Google Docs for show notes. And that's just because it's super convenient to share and be able to have immediate access to everything.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's pretty much all the tools we use. All totaled, we spend, spend about $55 a month on the various services. We're probably going to be cutting that down to closer to $30 or $35 shortly. But yeah, I am very much in love with the services we have found, recommended. And in general, I think if you're just starting out a podcast, this is the way to do it. Don't throw money, unless you are independently super wealthy. Mm-hmm. Don't just yeet money into your podcast until you are sure it's going to be a commercial venture.
Yeah, and I know that with Haunting You, they actually found their recorders at a Goodwill.
Yeah.
To get started.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
What I would do, honestly, if you're looking for cheap equipment like that, I don't know.
Pawn shops.
Pawn shops are good. Also, check Facebook Marketplace, because there's a good chance that people in your area are looking to get rid of something like that. Mm-hmm. And so you might be able to get a good deal that way. But I would look at your usual community boards and things, because you want to get something secondhand if you at all can.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a little bit more time left, luckily, but we also have some FAQs we wanted to discuss. And these were just some of the questions we've been getting. And then we're going to add some advice for those that are just starting out. All of this has been that.
Right.
We're going to do some targeted stuff.
Yeah.
FAQs. Do you record episodes in advance in case of a problem?
No.
Not really. No. We did at one point, very early when we first started. We did.
Yeah.
We recorded a couple, put them in the can, and said, okay, if I get hit by a bus, this episode goes live, or something like that. And the honest truth of it was, we sat on those episodes, and they never got uploaded. I don't even know where the hell they are anymore. I think they're gone. Yeah. They're officially the lost episodes. There's only like 2 of them anyway. So yeah, basically we don't do that. We've just always, it's one of the advantages we have, especially before the live recordings, was that it really doesn't take that much time, and we can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
So on vacation, just set up the H4n in the hotel room.
Right.
You're feeling sick, don't do the live podcast. Just record it whenever you get a break. Mm-hmm. So we've managed to make it work because we put such low requirements on our time.
Yeah. So next one
is
how do you come up with the topics? Well, it's usually pretty easy. Something will come up and we'll talk about it randomly and organically during our daily life.
Yeah, and the most commonly heard words sometimes in this house are, whoa, 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 we need to stop talking about this and savor the podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Whoa, 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 time out.
Yeah.
We've gone on for 10 minutes already. We clearly got 40 more we can give.
Yeah.
Let's put this in show note format and put it on the podcast.
Exactly.
We've done that so many times.
Yeah.
So yeah, generally it's pretty easy. So yeah, it's just things we see in the news, guests we won't like. You just saw the genesis of a topic now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, Chris Matthew, Internet of Things and Haunting, that could be good. I bet he'd be willing to come on and chat about this.
Exactly.
Because if I know Chris, he loves talking about IoT.
Yeah.
That is his favoriteest thing in the world. I'm pretty sure he doesn't love his family as much as he loves them. Okay, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you are.
I'm kidding. He loves his family very much. But it's definitely a close second. Very close.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we put it in a Haunt Ideas chat, and then we just go to that whenever we're looking for something to talk about.
Yeah.
This week it was difficult because of everything that's going on and how down we are, but usually it's very easy.
Yeah.
Usually we have, the weeks we've had problems and challenges coming up with an idea are 10 to 1, or not outnumbered 10 to 1 by the ones where it was easy. At least 10 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one. How do you get guests? We just ask people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really know what. That's a question I get. And it's like, you ask them.
So I'd say it's about 50-50 the people that come to us and ask to be on.
Yeah. That's about right.
And us finding a conversation that we're part of.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, do you want to talk about this more?
Yeah, generally speaking, we're a bit uncomfortable being approached, and the reason is because there's so many spammers.
Yeah, because we try...
so many people doing it in bad faith.
Yeah, we try really hard not to do...
hour-long pitches for
companies.
We don't mind you pitching your shit. We want you to get your shit in. But get it in the beginning and the end. Make the middle, the meat of the sandwich, useful to our listeners as our goal and requirement.
Yeah. And that's what we try to do.
So, and there's some people have pitched us, and it became very evident very quickly that all they wanted to do was cut a 60-minute commercial.
Right. And
that annoyed us. And so, but if you are someone who feels like you have something that would be great for this show, do let us know. Facebook.com/HauntWeekly, Twitter.com/HauntWeekly, HauntWeekly.com. You can use the form there. Or, once again, YouTube.com/HauntWeekly, leave a comment. Let us know, because we're always looking for guests. We're always looking for people smarter than us. Not difficult to find. And basically, we love to have you, but now you understand our rules. You get your pitch in the beginning and in the end, but the middle has to be useful to other people. It has to be educational and informative, and hopefully entertaining to the audience. Next question.
Do you use show notes? Yes, we do.
Very
talk
heavily
about them.
we do bullet points.
Right.
Like point D. Do you use show notes? 1, yes, bullet point show notes. 2, very much like a PowerPoint. 3, try to give us direction. Make sure we have enough to talk about. And then 4, but allow us to go off script.
Yeah.
That's exactly the structure of the show notes for this question.
Exactly. And we're not scripted in any way.
No, there's a reason. There's the ums, the ands, the occasional moment of awkward silence when we step on each other.
Right. Or our brains just shut off for some reason.
Yeah, we are not, we are not scripted. We use this more like a signpost. We want to talk about bing, bang, bong, ding, dong, bong, all the way around. We know the path we're taking.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily know how we're going to get there. And sometimes the path between point A to point B gets very meandering with us. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. It's half the fun of the show. Exactly. So yeah, we do use show notes, but it's mostly just to give us a structure. Right. And an idea if we have enough to fill the hour.
Yeah, if you've had to
too much.
Write an outline for a paper in an English class, that's basically what we use. That's
exactly it. So we're going to end this with some advice for those that are starting out.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really great way to conclude this. First things first, you mentioned this earlier. Mm-hmm. Try to write out as many topic ideas as you can before you even start thinking about show notes for your first episode.
Right.
Just to make sure you have enough and you have enough passion and that you're ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Next, try to minimize the time and money expenditure. And we talked about this earlier also in length.
Yeah.
But the more time something takes, the easier it is to quit it or to get burned out on it.
Yeah. We got burned out on Garbage Horror because it was a second 40-hour per week job.
Yeah.
This, we've managed to do 300 episodes without missing a Monday for 6 years almost.
Yeah.
Because we have made it so that this is so low burden on us, we can do it.
Right.
The next one is, do what you're already doing naturally. Don't try to force anything unnatural to you.
Yeah.
And that's such a simple thing.
It is.
But a lot of people, they say, oh yeah, I want my podcast to be XYZ format and on X and on Y topic. And it's like, okay, but you're not someone who organically does X, Y, and Z format. You don't naturally do that. You know, think about the shows, think about the podcast you listen, think about the conversations you have organically. And try to do that as a podcast rather than trying to make what you do fit someone else's idea of what a podcast is.
Right. Try to have fun with it.
Yeah. This really should be the biggest one bullet point, honestly.
Exactly.
This should be it. This really could just end the podcast here.
Yeah.
But
if it's not fun, it's over.
Yeah, it's over. Because here's the thing, especially if you're doing a haunted attraction podcast, we're such a niche community.
Yeah.
You're never going to get tons of downloads. It's never going to be huge. You're going to be a podcast that's like us, where you have a small, very dedicated base, and you love them. They're amazing people, and they will keep you motivated. Believe me, they will keep you motivated. But, you know, if you're not having fun, you're going to stop doing it. Even if it does become your job, even if you do make money from it, if you're not enjoying it, you're going to find another job. You're going to find another way to make money.
Yeah.
So make sure you can control how much fun you're having with it. If you keep it fun for you, you'll keep doing it. And finally, this is a bit personal advice for me, but don't pay too close of attention to your downloads, visitors, and traffic stats, especially if you're not looking to make this a business venture, not looking to make money.
Right.
It's not worth it. It's a no-win situation. If nobody's listening, you're going to get dejected and nobody's listening. If the entire fucking universe is listening, you're going to get nervous about everyone listening, and you're going to feel like, you know, you're now a slave to everyone.
Right.
And I'll tell you a story that happened to me. This happened to me many years ago. I was at a tech conference. I think it was at Converge South, actually, in North Carolina. No, that wasn't. It was another tech conference, though. And I had a room. I was speaking. And I'd anticipated, since my topic was copyright and plagiarism for blogging, it was niche, and that I'd probably get a decent crowd, but it was going to be like 30 people or so. It wasn't going to be huge. I was about right. It was a good room. It was a smaller conference, smaller room. And so it was a good room, good crowd for the space. But one of the reporters from the site Mashable was there. And I knew him from his photos. I went up and introduced myself. He was sitting on the front row. And he said, oh, by the way, is it okay with you if I live stream your talk? Absolutely. Please, I would be honored if you would live stream it. How many people are watching the stream? Oh, like 15,000. I don't get stage fright.
Right.
I want to be clear about this. I am not someone that is vulnerable to that.
Right.
I never have been, never will be. I am a performer. I am up there. I'm doing my best. I freak the fuck out. I am not going to pretend I did not flip my shit in that exact moment.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to pretend I didn't flip out. So, yeah, you don't want to put yourself in that no-win situation. Just don't pay attention to it. Do the podcast for yourself first. And if anyone shows up for the ride, so much the better.
Yeah.
Well,
we're always surprised at how many people listen to us.
We go to conferences, people walking up to us, oh, yeah, listen. I'm like, God, who are you people?
Why are you crazy like us?
Do we need a support group?
I know. I think that's kind of what the
Haunters
podcast
Anonymous?
is.
HA? Anyways, thank you very much for spending that past hour with us. We might have run a little bit long this week, but this was very cathartic, and I do feel much better now. And it's one of the reasons I like doing the podcast. Yeah. Is I always do feel better as I leave it.
Yeah, me too.
It's kind of like taking a shower. Sometimes you don't want to take a shower, but don't you always feel better after you do?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. You know what I mean? Mm. Please, though, do take a minute. Check us out at hauntweekly.com or Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly is the YouTube channel. Easiest freaking way to listen to the episodes. So few of you do it, but it is so easy. Also, check us out, Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. And most weeks, Sunday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. We do these live. Come join us. Hopefully we'll have the new studio space ready. Hopefully. I don't know if we're going to or not.
You're looking around like
I'm looking around thinking, oh, we are
happen.
fucked. I'm trying to turn this into a studio. I'm feeling fucked.
I know.
So maybe we'll rethink that. But until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see you all next week. Talk to you later.